Hey everyone, it's Connie again from New Heart Living, and I've got my husband with me again today. We promised you a video yesterday while we were camping, but my husband decided to get my sickness that I had last weekend, so we didn't have a very good day yesterday, did we?
No.
So he's been snotting and sniffing for the last 24 hours. We ended up leaving our camping adventure a day early, right?
Yes, just remember that if I kind of gouge out of the screen or anything, I'm just trying to.
So yeah, we slept a little late. And I said we got to do this video because I think this is very important. I want to say thank you to everybody that watched the previous video and all the great comments. If you haven't watched it, go back. It's about why are we so afraid of our experience, and I want to thank everybody for the encouragement, and I'm glad that you got a lot out of it. Yeah. We enjoyed doing it.
Had a big, really good response from it, actually.
Yeah. We used to do this all the time. Mm-hmm. We had a radio show at one point, but God took us in a different direction. But we do enjoy doing this together. I'm more the voice right now, but you are just as much an important aspect of our team, and you keep things going behind the scenes, right? All the time, right? So today, we wanted to talk to you about something that's a little more personal, but also something that affects all of us. We're going to share a little bit personally from our life, and we want to talk to you today about grief, right? Yeah. And what is grief? So I looked up the definition I love definitions of things, and we know, but here's what grief is. Deep or intense sorrow or distress, especially at the death of somebody. Something that causes keen distress or suffering, informal trouble or annoyance, like people were giving me grief
yes.
For leaving 10 minutes early. They were giving them trouble. Come to grief informal to end unsuccessfully or disastrously. So what I heard a while back was grief, and it really stuck to me. Grief is coming to terms with a new reality.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Or with reality.
Mm-hmm.
So this means that we can have grief over many different things in our life, right? We just do. Obviously, death is one of them.
Right.
But I've grieved a lot of things in my life. And I asked, it was several months ago, just everybody to put some input of what's some things that you've grieved over. I was thinking about putting it in a book. Not sure. I'm thinking I might just do a series of podcasts about grief in different areas that we grieve. I'm really praying about that, but I'm thinking it's leaning towards that. Or it could be a book too. We'll see. But we're going to share personally the last year and then talk to you a little bit more about this grief issue.
One of the things that I was thinking about when you was talking about how it just out of nowhere, it just kind of just pops up where you start feeling that remorse and that grief, just out of nowhere, or something happens and it stirred it. And I think that that's really why it's so important to talk about grief, because
we were talking yesterday. Mm-hmm. That's what it was.
Yes.
We were sitting by the fire. There's a lot to learn about sitting by a fire and stoking a fire. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of messages I could give about that. But I was saying that grief is like it dies down and becomes like embers, right? And then something triggers it, which is like you stoke a fire, and what happens? And then it's a big raging fire again, right? You stoke the embers, and it's a big. That's what we were talking about.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And
there it is again, right? So, personally, we're going to share though.
Right.
And I know a lot of you have followed me, and I'm very open about things going on in my life. That we've had a lot of grief this year from death. And I know a lot of you know about Kendra, my daughter, who she overdosed on meth in March. And, she had a lot of brain damage because her heart didn't start for 30 minutes. So and your mom had just died. His mom had just died right before this. So we were getting ready to go to Illinois for her funeral. For that Wednesday, we got the call on Sunday after church.
Right.
And that Kendra was in ICU on a ventilator. So we rushed 3 days early and to go up to see what was going on with all that, right? Yes. And So she was on a vent for 2 weeks, and we had to make the decision to take her off the vent. She's 29, and it took 2 days, but she passed away after 2 days. We were there with her. And then we went to your mom's funeral while she was on the vent, right?
Right.
So we had dealing with two things at that time. And man,
it was tough.
It was.
And
it was a lot.
You know, that's the thing that was really amazing. In the process of going through everything, you know, it seemed like it was almost, I don't know how to explain it, unreal. And then, and I was really okay during that time. You know, Mom's funeral, sure, I preached the funeral and it hurt. And then we went right out of the funeral straight up to the hospital and spent another several days with Kendra. And all this stuff is going on, and it just really, I mean, we just
the
took
day
care
after
of
when,
business.
yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot God did though in that. I'm telling you, it was like everybody was actually agreed on everything in the decisions. You know what would be best. I could see God's hand in all of it, and I'm telling you, the support that we had from everybody around us, we felt God's love in such a tangible way. It was just incredible. And
the thing about what she's talking about, everybody is, you know, Connie's first marriage, her ex-husband, and everybody. We actually had some incredible conversations
at the hospital, and then and no, but the support from just people that just through Facebook that I haven't met physically, but I've developed friendships with. The support was incredible. And then people that you worked with,
right, from
the prison ministry that I do. You know, it was just, God was just wrapping us in His love, helping us all along the way. But then after the morning after Kendra died, we'd already done your mom's funeral. That was a week later. And then that's when that morning it hit you. It was just like everything, right? Yeah. It was
just like a whole flood of emotions just came on, and the pain come on. And I was thinking about that, and you and I were talking about that. You know, we always think that everything should be wrapped in this cute little box when it comes to grief. In fact, people talk about the 5 stages of grief. And I'm not saying those are wrong, you know, but we put grief in this simple little tidy box, and it's really not, is it?
No. No.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just thinking ahead before that what we were going to say.
Okay.
There's something I was going to say. I just lost it. See, this is what happens to me sometimes. You know, the older you get this little bunny trails, and you think one thing, and then you lose the other thing, right? I don't even know where we were going with that.
But the point is...
what has to look like, right?
Yes.
But that wasn't the end of the grief, though.
No, it wasn't. Not at all.
Because a few months later, a couple months ago? You can go ahead.
Yeah, just a few months later, I get a phone call, and my foster daughter...
This fall?
Yeah, this fall. My foster daughter, her mother called me and said, "Hey, Willie, Lisa is on hospice." Now, I had Lisa from the time she was like 11 years old, and she's always called me Daddy. And I
met her one time when we first were married, so I wasn't. That's another thing we want to talk about. Also, I wasn't as close to her. So, but it was a big deal for you because you raised her, and even though you hadn't seen her for a while, it was still.
It was heartbreaking. In fact, the matter when Lisa called me in March, she called me in March during all the things going on with Kendra and my mother, and said, "Daddy, I just had to have surgery again for my cancer." And anyway, so whenever I talked to her, maybe a few days after that, and then her mother called me and told me that, and it was like all the emotions from what had already happened this year just came down on me. I mean, when Lisa passed away, it was like bam, everything was just heavy and on me. And it tore me up. Yeah.
And honestly, I just want to say this because I think it's important to bring this out. It didn't bother me that much. I mean, but here's the thing. we sit here, and I've said this, and I'm guilty of this. We listened to a podcast when we were going on our way to camping about a country singer who had lost his son. He drowned in a pool. Like, he was there. He just had turned away for a few minutes. Anyway, we say that, there's no greater grief than losing a child.
Mm-hmm.
I've said it.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's no greater grief than losing such and such. But really, he made a really good point, and it really made me think that, well, to somebody that has never had a child, let's just say they lose a best friend or whatever that relationship was, how important that relationship was to them, or like if they were really close, that is no greater loss to them.
That's right.
We can't compare no, a spouse is greater or this is, because I wasn't as close to Lisa, right? I met her only a couple times. So naturally, I'm going to be sad for you. Mm-hmm. And it's sad, but she knew Jesus.
Yes.
But my grief is not going to be the same as your grief. And I don't have to feel bad that I'm not crying my eyes out over it.
Right.
And I think we do that sometimes. We beat ourselves up because, what's wrong with me? Right. I'm not really feeling that sad.
Well,
or
flip side, man, that's really weird because, we talked about this. I had two close friends that lost a pet. And they took it extremely hard.
They were calling you. I mean, yeah.
And they took it really extremely hard. And some people would say, oh, come on, it's just a pet. But no, that was, it was deep in their heart. And I think that's one of the things that the biggest mistake that I think we do is we put grief in this tiny little box. It needs to be because you've lost this or that. And you're going to go through this or that as you go through your grief. And one of the things that I've learned especially in the past year is that nobody's grief is going to look the same.
No, and we all guilty of, well, shouldn't you be done grieving by now?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be over that by now? Or, what's wrong with you? Aren't you sad? Or, because Kendra broke my heart, right?
Yeah.
And I've had a few times where I've just bawled my eyes out certain times, but I can't say that. But see, here's the thing. I had gotten used to not having her in my day-to-day life because, honestly, when you deal with a child that's been in drugs, I felt like I lost part of her a long time ago as far as that relationship because the drugs had literally changed. It had warped her mind or thought, the thought process. So even though it was devastating, but the crying every day, no, it's not that. Mm-mm. It was almost a relief to see her to have to live in that torment anymore.
Yeah.
So my grief, where I've met people that are still like crying every day over a child they've lost several years ago, which I could easily think, well, gosh, but I got to get yourself in check. Wait a minute. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who am I to say how long that should take? Does it really ever end?
No.
I mean, like you said, it can be an ember and something can trigger. Now, I may have breakdowns in the future, but I've gone to the point where I've almost thought, what's wrong with me? Why am I not crying every day like they're crying?
Right.
So then I can say, what's wrong with me? But no, there's not. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with me, right?
No.
We got to be careful with that. God doesn't want us beating ourselves up about that stuff or over analyzing ourselves.
And one of the things is we were talking about this thing is, understanding that everybody's going to go through it differently. And as a friend or a loved one, our job is really not to fix that person, is it?
No.
And go ahead.
And I know God here lately has really been this word safe place.
Uh-huh.
And it's not the way the world teaches it. We're so afraid to offend people or whatever, But are we a safe place for them to come and just say, hey, I need to talk about this grief. I need to talk about so-and-so. I had a friend that came over, some friends, they spent the night, and I just remember just talking about Kendra to her and it would just like she just let me talk, and she asked questions and that was almost like healing right there. It was just felt really good to be able to just talk about her and how she was. And, you know, maybe I need to do that. Maybe I need to share her story. I don't know, but it felt good. So ask questions about the person.
Yeah.
What kind of person were they? You know, tell me the good things. You know, or just let them talk. Or just let them cry or whatever. Don't try to fix. What's the need that needs to be met? Because, you know, on my podcast, if you've New Heart Living, I have a podcast, and I've done about relational needs. And when you're grieving over something, you need comfort. Comfort doesn't mean you're giving them advice. Sometimes it's just listening.
Right.
And saying, I'm here.
You know, whenever I was thinking about that, whenever I go to I work in the prison, and it's almost on a weekly, but it is on a weekly, but sometimes it's a daily, where I'm notifying these young men, and these young men that someone that they really love has passed away. And, you know, I don't offer a whole lot of advice, because they don't need to hear me say things like, you're going to get through this. You know, they need to hear, I'm here with you. I'm going to walk with you.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's really the thing that most people need. Whether you really feel like the loss of their pet is that big a deal, to them it's a really big deal. Or it might be the loss of a loved one that happened 10 years ago. And there's just something that happened that stirs up that emotion. You know,
Go ahead.
I'll say this, I'm going to pass it to you for a second here. I have called my mom's husband on, you know, and my mom's voice is still on the answer machine. And just as soon as I hear mom's voice on that answer machine, it just opens up a whole flood of emotions again, you know, and some little bitty thing is going to do that for these people. And we got to remember that it may be something like a sunny day or whatever, and just being there is so important.
Yeah. And you know, there's different types of grief, or we grieve over different things. Now we're talking about the death of a loved. Oh, let me say first though, that's what I was going to say. It went out of my head again. I'm kind of tired today. Now I just lost it again. Isn't that horrible? This is the real deal here.
Yes.
Anyway, I totally lost it again, and it'll come back. But anyway, there's different things that we can grieve over in life, right? So it's not just the death of a loved one.
Right.
We grieve a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is something that we really need to talk about, because there's the death of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I know one time I grieved, like when I was first married to Willie, you know, God thrust me into being a pastor's wife. I had no experience of this. I was in the midst of a pain pill addiction, and God was promoting me to a position of influence, because he knew he had to put me in a position, in an atmosphere where everything he put in me would be pulled out of me, because I came with it, right? And I had to understand his grace. But I remember when God moved us to Texas, and we took that little church in Bay Cliff, and I had to do everything, and all these expectations were on me. I remember saying, God, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to my dialysis job. I want to go back to my 9 to 5 and not do this anymore. I was grieving my old life, my career, because this was so hard. It was new. So there was the end of one thing, but the beginning of something else.
Right.
And so we transition and we kind of grieve sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we get divorced. That's a grief.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what the circumstance, you have to grieve that. There's a lot of things we grieve, don't we? What
Yes.
Can you think of anything else?
Well, I was just going to say that the divorce is a really big deal, because it's really painful, you know, and
we'll get into that later maybe, but deep, right? But we both experienced it.
For me, you know, it wasn't a big deal. I mean, I know that sounds weird whenever I say it wasn't like this was big emotional deal when I lost my leg, right? You know, I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to walk like normal again. I never felt like that.
But that's you.
Yeah.
Right?
But I did grieve the fact that, I see a semi truck going down the road, and my truck was sitting in my driveway for several months until, not several weeks while I was trying to figure out what I was doing. I think, man, I'm never going to get to drive that again. Stuff like that.
Well, you were grieving that your old way of life.
Yeah, and so I think that's one thing that we need to be tender with people about, because people go through stuff, and it's okay to go through those things. And that's what the key thing is that we wanted to talk about. Isn't this whole grief thing is, mourning changes in our life, like you said, the new reality of your life, wherever it comes from. The loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, divorce. Man, I can remember whenever I was going through my divorce, and our marriage was terrible. But whenever the divorce came, the pain of that was, oh my gosh, for months it hurt. So
I know, we think we're ready to get out of it, right? Mm-hmm. Because whatever situation. But let me tell you, it's not any easier on that side of it either. Because now you're going to have a whole new set of issues. Mm-hmm. So, but before I lose it again, we say, well, with death with people, like, well, we know they're in a better place. And true. Like, I know Kendra knew Jesus, Lisa, your mom. But we grieve the reality that's here. Yes, there's a higher reality. We know that. There's a higher reality in Jesus, right? But God doesn't negate the human experience that we have here.
Right.
That there is an actual human reality that we do have to deal with here. And that we are able to grieve, and He's okay with that.
Yeah.
Just because we know the way, the truth, the life, there's hope, and their life didn't end, they just transitioned. But their life as we knew them in humanness is gone.
Right.
It ended.
Right.
So we grieve that. We grieve their physical body, being able to touch them and talk to them, there's a lot of things.
Right.
So just say, but and I get people, and it's true, we mean well. But they're with Jesus. Well, that doesn't make me feel better right at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking before you said that. Christian adages are well.
I don't know if it's adages. It's a truth. They're
well meant, but they really are not really comforting at the time.
Be very discerning. Let the Holy Spirit, do they really need to hear that right now?
Right.
What if we take a moment, Holy Spirit, what do they need from me right now? See, this is where we're in tune to meeting another person's need above our own.
And that's the key thing. That's what all of this is about, is us talking about the fact, because I was even thinking about, as my two friends lost their dogs, and they were heartbroken, and the well-meaning friend said, oh, go get another dog. And that's not what they need to hear right now.
And really, who knows, it looks like it's about the dog.
Right.
How do we know it's not something deeper?
Right.
How do we know that's not triggering a loss of somebody else?
Right.
I don't know. I'm just saying. And us, we could think it's just a stinking dog. Get over it. Right. But we got a dog that's 15 years old, and he's been there since we've been in Texas. Now, I think I have a healthy view of animals, that we don't elevate them above people. But when our oldest dog goes, which we see he's going that way, it's going to be sad.
It is. Mm-hmm.
He's been a part of our life. I see people some of you guys on Facebook. Animals are, they're beautiful, they're cute, God gave them as a gift to us to enjoy. Mm-hmm. And if that's all somebody has,
right,
that's everything to them.
So take the time to just listen, I think, is the key thing, and just I think in lovingly just listen. Probably not give a whole lot of answers, except I'm walking with you. I understand that. However you want to say it, because.
And I know one thing, it also, going through losing somebody or whatever it is, it helps us have greater empathy.
Yeah.
I have so much greater empathy for people that have lost loved ones now. Mm-hmm. Did you and I think when we got married in 2010, we were thinking of our own death, right? Like, well, will we live to be, how long will we have? We never ever had the thought that we would live two kids in 14 years of marriage. Mm-mm. 2 children.
Right. In fact of the matter, that's a good point, because we did everything to plan for us passing, insurance, will, and all that stuff. But we never braced ourselves for something like that.
And we even have this discussion still now with our kids now. I said, Willie, there's no guarantee we won't outlive all our kids.
Right.
Seriously, I mean, things happen. We don't know. You said something in your letter to me this morning about, like, when we went camping, we planned 3 days, right? The first evening was great. We had fun Friday, and then we woke up Saturday. I was hurting, didn't sleep well all night, and you woke up sick. In that quick a moment,
everything changed.
That's how quick something can change.
Mm-hmm.
And, and so we like, let's just go home. We feel like crap. Let's just go home, And so we did. And that's just a simple thing. So appreciate who you have right now. I don't care. You're fighting every day, whatever. I know there's things to be worked out, but look around and appreciate, because that's how quick it can change.
And just, whenever you come on somebody that is grieving, just walk with them. That's all they need,
And after, even though, and I suggest, and I have to remember this too, that if it's been a while, ask them,
yeah,
how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because everything happens at the beginning. Everybody's comforting, everybody's, and then when everything's settled down, that's when it all sets in.
Yeah.
And it can be months later, but yet that person's still over there. They could be drowning in grief and just need one person to come along. Of whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a death of a loved one. It can be anything. But so grief, remember, is coming to terms with a new reality.
Yeah.
And there is a reality in this world that we have to come to terms with. There's a higher reality, but this reality that God comforts us in, and then we're able to comfort others. And we have a greater, I don't know how many people now that I've connected with that have lost children.
Yeah.
Or I have a greater empathy now for them because I've been through it. And you've been through it.
Yeah. And each person's doing it a little bit different.
It doesn't look the same on anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just what was on our heart.
Just be an encourager.
Yeah, and I think I've been praying about another podcast, but I think, maybe we can talk about divorce or the different things that we grieve over, and we'll see where that takes us. I think there's definitely going to be more about that. So
yeah,
get a little more personal about some things there. So we're really glad that you took time to listen to us again. Like I said, I appreciate all of you. I'm telling you, I have so many friends now I know there's bad things about social media, but I'm telling you, all of you out there that I have met and then I've built relationships with just through social media, it's incredible. Mm-hmm. What a support you've been and encouragement you've been to me. I need you, and we appreciate you. Yes. We really do. And we love you. Jesus loves you more. Right? You have anything to say?
Well, no. I think just thanks for stopping by. And I will say this. I'll go ahead and say this. I just appreciate all those that are supporting New Heart Living and the work that is being done through New Heart Living. She's literally reaching hundreds of men a month through the preaching and
the grace message,
the grace message,
New Covenant Union. I'm telling you, it is like I'm seeing it more and more. I mean, mm-hmm. You don't make it about. Now we're going to get on something else. You brought that up because that's my passion. I'm telling you, but yes, I appreciate you all. And this, I want to say also that normally every year for Christmas, the past several years, I've done goodie bags for just one particular camp. Well, this year, somebody else is taking care of that. But I've decided, because I teach in 3 different places, 2 camps and then the main building at the Clemens. So the services that I do right before Christmas, I'm personally going to bring in something special for them. If it's a huge candy bar, it might be I don't know, mm-hmm. deodorant. So if you want to give something to donate to that, that'd be greatly appreciated. I know on my website, there's a donate button, mm-hmm. or you can private message me. My website's www.conniemiller.online. com. And there's a donate button there. I have the books, More Downloads from the Heart of Daddy God. That's my latest book. Anything you purchase there, the books, just goes right back in to the ministry. I give those books to the guys all the time. And I have grown men telling me how much it spoke to them. I have 3 books, but my latest one, you can get all the books on my website. It'll link you. What else?
That's only a few things that you do. You do recreation, believe it or not.
Oh, bingo, yes. I buy prizes twice a month at the Dollar Tree, which is at least $100 a shot per one, each one. Drive an hour away each time I go, one way. So, your support means a lot. There's some of you that have supported me, and I would not be able to do it without you. And you are a big part of that, what God's doing in this. So we appreciate you. And if you want to, like I said, one-time gift, or it's a tax deductible. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. You guys all have a great week, getting ready for the holidays, and we love you. Take care.